Right. So, welcome everybody to this community events working party on the 14th of January. We're only halfway through the month. As usual, because it is a working party, we have no delegated authority, and recommendations must be ratified by either leisure and community, and also or by the town clerk under delegated powers. So that was item 1. Item 2, apologies for absence, please.
We don't have any apologies for absence, Chair.
Okay. Thank you very much. Declarations of interest and requests for dispensations. Anybody? No. Minutes of the previous meeting held.
Councillor Mason has his hand up.
Sorry, Councillor Joe Mason, go on.
Thanks, Chair. It's just a registering an interest. I'm chairman of the Haverhill show, and my links are with Haverhill Santa that was involved in the procession.
Yeah, that's fine. No, that's fine. Right, item 4, minutes of the previous meeting held on the 14th of October. Thank you to whoever typed those minutes up. I'm presuming it was Jane, but I know she wasn't there. But... Right, I assume you've all read them. So can I have a proposer first of all, please? Councillor Hanlon, seconded by anybody? Councillor Brown. All those in favour, please show. Thank you very much. Matters arising that are not on the agenda, there aren't any, but we'll. Did you want to go through those minutes?
If you wish, Chair, I'll put them on screen.
Yeah, so you're a bit low with volume. Yeah, if you want to, very quickly. Yeah. So we've got page 24 first of all when it comes up. There you go. Going down to page 25. Scrolling down to 26. Down to 27 and finally 28. If it's got any queries, that's good. Public speaking at all? Following anything? Anybody?
There's nobody here from the
No.
public.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the last 3 events of last year, which all seem a long time ago now. Starting with the Halloween trail, and I'm trying to see. Oh, Sarah is here. Okay. Any comments on the Halloween trail by anybody?
It's just Sarah and Gary, probably the best people to start off.
Hello, can everyone hear me? I'm just
Yeah,
having a
can you
few...
go? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, sorry, John, you're just breaking up on my end, so just bear with me if I can't grasp what you're saying. Was it the Halloween trail?
Yes, affirmative.
I thought, as usual, the delivery was very good in terms of the performances. The people who attended seemed to enjoy it very well. The only real core issue for me was the fact that we were worried about people on site exceeding limits and going over in terms of timings. So we made a decision roughly at 10:08 to put an end to the queue, which meant that we had to turn a number of people away at the very point of entering the site. Most people took it with good grace. A few people were a little bit annoyed. So in terms of consideration for next year, I'd like to highlight that it's a very popular event. We always need to be aware of how many people are coming onto site and how we can cope. It's just not how many people on site. It's just that if we keep letting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds come onto the site, then literally at some point the performers have to end and we have to end. Otherwise, we'll all be coming off site at about 2 o'clock in the morning. Just so everyone's aware of that. I don't know if Sarah wants to add anything performance-wise.
No, I think we benefited again from having centre stage on the party, and we also had some signpost people, so there was a good sort of a community involvement in it this year. Yeah, The fairground let us down a little bit again because we were expecting more than that. But overall, it all went fine.
Yes, again, it was an enjoyable event to run from my perspective, backed up by obviously a very excellent and capable team. So I think credit should go to the team who worked on across the whole of the day and delivered the whole event.
Yeah, my only comment on that, I think what you've already said, Gary, is some of the queuing was a little bit long, particularly going up towards Chalkstone Way.
I think ultimately we're a victim of our own success because we are delivering a very good event and it's completely free. So therefore, it's no surprise that quite a high percentage of the town turns out and the consideration again, we just need to be aware of that. I mean, I think the way that we're taking people onto the trail in the clockwise nature of it, I think works well because it allows us quite a large run for the queue. I mean, you can imagine the queue started at the avenue and eventually was going all the way back to the main road by the roundabout. Sorry, forgive me if I've forgotten what the name of that road is. Yeah, so a lot of people to come through. I mean, it was only nudging there. So, I think we measured that at like 800 meters or so. So it's quite a sizable queue, but the sheer volume of people who keep joining the queue, that is the issue of how many people we get onto site and at what point we say no more, like we had to last time, because there was great discussions between all of us at the level of not cancelling, but of pausing the queue and then seeing if we could get a few more on. And then at some point we had to make that decision to, that was it. Otherwise, the performers would have maybe just walked off the site because they were way beyond their timings. But again, it is an enjoyable event for the town.
Yeah, there was talk 3 or 4 years ago about, whether we would do something in the town centre to, save all those people who don't live anywhere near the place, driving anywhere.
No, we do get the obvious. I had a conversation with a local resident who complained about the car parking and the litter situation in the side roads off the park, and I sympathise with her totally. That people do come along, they park up, they block the roads, even though obviously we put the cones down. We don't have any remit to block off the traffic, but people will park, and unfortunately, percentages of them make a mess. Ultimately, she did actually sympathise with the situation that we're in, so it's a difficult one. That about how we move people around the site. I'm not against the idea that we had about moving and having a new style event, and I think if we could think about it, what I remember from that conversation a couple of years ago was that I think councillors quite liked the safe and tried and tested format of what we're doing. So it may be that it may be a leap of faith too far to do something different. However, I think it might be an idea to mix it up. I think we're going to do the same thing for the next 30 years. I don't know. Maybe it would be nice to mix it up and do biannually one trail on the park and then the following year do another event. It doesn't have to be a trail. It could be another style of event, so that people could actually do both trick and treating and an event that we're hosting, whatever. But we're all for new ideas.
Councillor Brown, Tony. You're muted, Tony.
Sorry. Okay, thank you. Yeah, thanks, Chair. As an alternate venue, just as an idea and a thought for the future, really, is how about the Railway Walk? That's been all resurfaced, etc. And the other thing that I was going to suggest, what about you're saying that too many people are turning up? How about free tickets? And issue out X amount of free tickets, first come, first serve.
Yeah, we're going to go on to talk about plans for this year as part of agenda item 8. So I think at the moment we'll just worry about, but keep that in mind as a potential. Okay, anything else on the Halloween trail at all? No. Okay.
Chair, just
Sorry,
before we go on.
there you are. I can hear you. There you are. Sorry.
Hi. Yeah. I think some of the points that Gary made, I think, are well made. The parking around East Town Park for those councillors who didn't actually see it for themselves, you probably won't be remotely surprised to hear that people, the way they park their cars is just without any regard for anybody else. For many years, we have people who will persist in simply parking on somebody else's driveway without any sort of compunction that there's anything wrong about doing that. They need to park their car, so there's a large concrete space to park on there. So it does cause issues, and we do what we can, and we try to be careful that we don't cone parts of Couples Road that actually car parking is possible, because that's necessary to do. I think the ticketing issue, we used to ticket when we did the trail at the Scout grounds. The difficulty we found, and I don't think we've necessarily found an agreeable solution, is that people then book loads of free tickets because all their mates will come with them, and then they discover that all their mates have also thought the same thing and booked tickets, so they then don't bother with those tickets, and we then have large gaps and lots of people complaining, and the actual numbers of people going through the trail significantly down, despite the fact that the tickets have been taken up, but the tickets are then not redeemed because there's no value to them, so people don't really care.
When we were talking about the science, sorry, I can't put my hand up. The science meeting, we did talk about that problem, and we did talk about having a deposit system, a £5 ticket, which then gets returned after. So there is a possible solution.
Yeah, it's process, I guess, on that one, Sarah, but you're right. I mean, there's lots of instances where people have offered something for free, and it's free if you attend, and you get your money back. Well, 20 years ago, when I was working for the Suffolk Association of Voluntary Organisations, we put on training which was free to community groups, and we had exactly the same problem. So in the end, we charged people, I think, £10, and that was fully returnable if you actually attended the training. But if you didn't attend the training, then you forfeited the £10. It significantly improved the situation. But it's difficult because we've got a principle of free at the point of kind of consumption, and how we refund the money is that creates a headache for ourselves.
Yeah. Well, that's something to think about, maybe. Okay, shall we move on to the Christmas event, and let's combine it with the fireworks, as they're both on the same day and evening. Who wants to go on that?
Sarah, I think.
Sarah, I can't see Sarah, so
sorry, I'm just trying to see if I can get up on my phone, because it's weird not having video.
Okay, well, I'll talk anyway, Sarah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it was a very, 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 very busy day. So the market, we took responsibility for the market in the morning. As always, it was a bit of a melee because we have this lovely big plan and nobody takes a blind bit of notice of it, and they just turn up and do what the flip they like when they want to. And they're all a little bit, I mean, you can't blame them if people are trying to make their living out of selling stuff. They're always for themselves, if you see what I mean. So that went okay. We had a lot of people. I think the town centre seemed busy. We had the craft fair on in the art centre at the same time. I think that was successful as well. And then in the evening we had the carnival parade, which was quite a big Is that working? Sorry.
You'll need to mute one of the devices, Sarah.
Yeah. That better? No. But I'm just going to abandon that.
No, Sarah, all you need to do is switch the sound as well as the speaker. Switch off the speaker and audio on one device and leave just the other device doing the job. We can't hear you at all if you switch off the microphone on both.
No, you're Tyler, I can see you.
You should be able to hear me as well, but that's not true, is it?
Yes, I can hear.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, a bit of an echo. I think I said, go on to say, speak now.
Yeah, sorry. Where did we get up to? So the carnival was a large undertaking. It was a new thing that we've done for this year. We had a lot of groups getting involved and a lot of groups that wanted to get involved but couldn't. So there was Lisa, SJ Sept, Centre Stage, Signpost and Westfield Primary School. Overall, the impact was really great. There was a few teething problems with some of the things we did, including the sound and the route, and the whole logistics of the day were a little bit of a challenge. But overall, I was really pleased that we had that massive turnout in the street and everyone seemed to be excited by it. So now I'll hand over to Gary about the fireworks.
With regards to fireworks, I think.
Sorry, Gary.
Yeah.
I think we should just hang on a second because I think there's more unpacking to do on the Christmas event itself. I have to say, Chair, that when Sarah first explained what she had in mind, I thought she had gone completely crazy. It was an amazing event. I mean, we do everything, the market, the craft fair, the Christmas light switch on, etc. And thank you to Councillor Mason and his team from the Haverhill show for finding themselves unofficial traffic wardens at some point when people insisted and trying to get through, but then adding the carnival on top of that, which I think when Sarah and I talked about it was like a 25-yard long, very, very modest, just see how it goes display, and turned into hundreds of people dressed in outfits. I mean, the group you found in from London who do the Notting Hill Carnival, etc. I mean, how many costumes did they find to put out that day? It was just absolutely staggering. Yeah, to be honest, most of it was being made up as we went along because we'd never done anything like it before, and it's and that's a miracle in itself. But it really was an exceptional event, Sarah. So I think I would really like it put on record, Jane, that it was quite amazing what was pulled off, and the number of people who were involved in that carnival procession. The schools and the community groups have commented positively about it afterwards, was just amazing, and the town was absolutely packed.
Okay, before you go on to Gary, Councillor Mason.
Thank you, Chair. I think I'd like to echo all of those comments from Sarah and Colin. I loved it. I thought it was a great event. I don't think when it's the first time that you do it, you're going to get it perfect. And I think it's really healthy to kind of look at it with cold eyes, not heartless eyes, but cold eyes to identify those little areas that can be improved upon. The group I represent wanted to make it clear how much they appreciated being asked They thoroughly enjoyed it. They loved being part of the procession, and you know, they really thought it was a great event. On behalf of Lisa, who participated in it with her dance school, you've got to see the joy in the kids' faces. They felt so special, and I don't think we can put a value on that in terms of how it makes people, young people, feel about dressing up and parading in such a busy town. I wouldn't have been surprised if there was between 4,000 and 5,000 people on the market square. It was absolutely jammed, and for me, I think it's exactly the sort of event we should be doing that pulls people into the heart of our town centre. I think it really, community is about people coming together, and it's not cheap, it's quite expensive, but I think in terms of impact, it put a smile on everybody's face, and something definitely that I'd like to see again. I don't think we had enough marshals. I mean, the team were more than happy to help out where we could, but I think we need more marshals on the market. There was some concern about the safety with the sleigh and the car. There wasn't much space coming down the high street. We weren't travelling fast. You know, processions by their nature are a slow walking pace, but I think Dave, the driver, was a bit nervous. It felt a bit tight in places. But overall, considering that's the first time that we've done a procession like that in Food Town, I just hats off to you. Congratulations. I thought it was a brilliant event. Thank you.
Councillor Smith, David.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, again, just echoing what everybody said from my perspective. It was a very joyful occasion, I must admit, and yeah, I think you're just making a rod for your own back, because you can't go back from here, can you?
No, I mean, when I heard about Carnival, I think back to my childhood, which was a few years ago now, where local community groups got together with businesses and went around the town on with a proper carnival. But we all know how much person power that takes to manage that in terms of stewarding and whatever else it is. And funny enough, I found some old video of my old town carnival from the 1960s. But of course, we don't have the businesses now. We don't have the people with flatbed trucks anymore either. So I suppose my own couple of things from my side on this before we get onto the fireworks was I agree with you about the market traders. You know, I stand there at 6:30 in the morning, dropping the barriers off. 6:45, somebody turns up, opens the gate, drives through, and leaves the gate open. Even though you were told them quite categorically what to do. So rather than having somebody out there at 7 o'clock in the morning manning the gate just in case someone turns up, you know, it's something you have to think about. The only other one was, and this is more of a marketing thing, who comes back to Joe, there he is. It would have been nice to have known who was in the carnival. You know, whether it's the professional ones or the amateur ones, if I'm going to call them amateurs.
It was a little bit fly by the seat of our pants. So some people pulled out at the last minute, and we got some extra people. So it's not like we had the information days in advance. It was a little bit.
No, I mean, it's different. I know it's different because it's as Councillor Mason just said, you know, about coming down the high street. You know, it'd be lovely to have a carnival come down the high street, but at the end of the day, it's not wide enough, and not with all the stalls that are sitting there and all the people there. You just can't do it. Did you want to still come back, Joe, Councillor Mason?
Yeah, if you don't mind, I just sparking idea. In the Olympics, when they do the opening ceremony, each group can have a banner. And I was actually thinking about this the other day for my wife's dance school, is you would only need 2 children with a Lisa Mason School of Dance banner, and everybody would know that everybody who follows is a Lisa Mason School of Dance.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, encourage groups to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, or something just on a flag or something. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, okay. But anything else on the Christmas event itself during the day? And then we go on to the associated fireworks. No? Gary?
Yes, I have a feeling that the fireworks, what works about the fireworks is it's a really great after 8 mint to the feast that we've had down on the square. And I thought that was a nice, as always, is a nice little way to kind of round off the evening. Again, I thought Alchemy pulled off a really great display. Some of the explosions were really quite wondrous. And one of the considerations that we had this year was to not have a musical background while it was playing at all, which post hoc, I think there were a number of items that we need to possibly discuss. One was, I think there was a slight failing, as it would have been nice to have some music playing as people arrived, just as a kind of an entree for people coming up the hill to hear something playing. So I think next year we can use that PA just with some music playing, and then cut that feed when the fireworks went off. And I was talking to Glenn, who Alchemy, who delivers the fireworks, and both of us said exactly the same thing at the end of the display, and said it was really wondrous to hear the fireworks by themselves. And it pulled off a fantastic display. Obviously, kudos to them. With regards to the delivery of the fireworks, again, we had the team of young people, cadets who help us, and a number of, I think Joe mentioned 5 minutes ago about staffing and stewards. One of the things that we have to cope with is basically splitting two teams. As historically, in previous years, we've had a team race up to the ground to try and provide stewarding there. The last few years, we've tried to ensure that everything was locked off in good time. So in essence, we have a team down on the square. We also have a team running at the recreation ground. We changed it slightly this year to take a bit of pressure off after consultations with Glenn at Alchemy, and we only closed Camps Road and we didn't close the recreation road as historically we have done, which took off one of the pressure points, which allowed us to only have a limited number of stuff up there, and it worked, as far as I know, really quite well. It meant that we didn't have anywhere near the levels of aggravation for people wanting to push past stewards. That just didn't happen, and I'm pleased to report that went really well. What went well was the radio communication with the new radios. I was clearly able this year to be able to communicate with people at the square and further out field between Colin, Sarah, etc. So we all knew exactly who was where, what place, etc. What worked well was we extended the road closures. The previous year we had a road because of the delay due to the fog and the mist and various reasons. It meant that the road closure was opening as everyone was still on the road. This year we extended it out both ways, slightly earlier, slightly later. And actually, I thought that worked really quite well. I would really like to do that again next year. Again, I think the key thing from my perspective would be going back to Joe's point. If we're able to get more volunteers and more people, councillors, friends of councillors, colleagues, friends, family, that will help us greatly as we are very stretched across town on that day. We're talking about a team at the recreation ground, a team at the square, a team dealing with road closures down at the square, and also we have a sizable team at the arts centre. But also we've got a number of people as well who were designated runners who were moving people like the parade participants back and forwards between the arts centre. So if we think about it, it's what, along with the Halloween trail, it's quite obviously the most body intensive event that we do. And next year, it would be great to have a whole bunch of new volunteers wherever we get them from. I'd be very happy to take them on board and run a safe and happy event. Thanks.
Thanks, Gary. I think my only query is in years gone by, and I'm talking about not necessarily recent years gone by, we've always had a good set of donations and I'll get on to you in a minute, Councillor Hanlon. This year, I think it was really poor compared to the number of people around. I think if we're going to do it again this year coming up, I think what we ought to do is do what we've done in years gone by, is walk the line of the, where the barriers are, the fencing is rather. Every little bit helps as far as I'm concerned. Councillor Hanlon.
Sorry. Yeah, the fireworks are absolutely brilliant as far as I'm concerned. Music. The problem with switching off the music, and I'd like to know the reason why you switched off the music, is it used to advertise the pantomime, because it was always on a theme of what we had in the pantomime. Now, I'm wondering if that would have affected the input of people going to the advertising of people going to our pantomime, because it's a brilliant. Now that we have a pantomime made by the town council staff, we need that music as an advert for the pantomime. I'd just like to know who because was it because it was too loud? If it's too loud, then turn it down, and people will have to come closer. I must admit, the crowds, obviously, but I think it's the biggest crowd I've ever seen in all the years I've been going to the fireworks this year. Whether that's because of the carnival, I don't know, because the carnival was absolutely brilliant on the square as well. I stood there on the square and watched that. But yeah, I'm just wondering why the music was switched off, and did it affect the pantomime numbers?
Let me ask Colin, because he'll be one to. I see he's got his hand up anyway. But
yeah, thank you, Chair. I have to say that if the music with the fireworks has been anything to do with the panto, then I'll just have to bow to the fact you've been the councillor for yonks and yonks and yonks long before I was clerk, so it's not something I'm particularly aware of. There wasn't particularly a prohibition about the music. There was a different debate about what the PA system was capable of doing, and the music kind of got lost in that argument to a certain extent. So there wasn't really a conscious decision to not have any music, and I think Gary has probably picked up those points, and I agree that yes, you're absolutely right. There could certainly be music before the fireworks. The PA system was there so that the mayor could do a countdown, etc. And the PA system, some people would have heard the music coming out of that, but we have to be realistic that you can hear the fireworks from about 5 or 6 miles away. They set off car alarms. The PA system is never ever going to compete, and so the issue was more around the sort of sound system you need to play music when there are loads and loads of fireworks going off. So I think we've taken a lot of learning from this year, and next year and this new year, I don't have any issue whatsoever with music. There was never a prohibition on music. So if they come with a tune they want to play, it can go over that PA system, and those people who are within earshot of a PA system will hear it. Those people who are in Keddington or Hundon or Chalkston or wherever they might be, they will just enjoy the fireworks. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Colin. Councillor Mason, then Councillor Lucarini.
Thank you, Chair. Just two quick points, I think. First one, my comment about marshals predominantly was about the market at the beginning of the day up to about 1 o'clock. I mean, we had a number of drivers during the day wanting to turn in. to the high street and being a bit argumentative that they couldn't. But mostly, I would say in terms of a setup at the beginning of a day, that's where probably we could have done with a few more marshals. As regards sound, I mean, if you were to try, if you did a survey, I would imagine a lot of people would say, "Oh, we miss the music," but I don't think we should get hung up on it. There's more than one way to do this event. You could invite Star Radio to do a bit at the beginning, possibly, and then something afterwards and finish it off. I kind of like the idea of there being silence apart from the explosions from the fireworks and the sounds of the sparkles. And if it's ever so slightly different each year, well, then it offers something different each year. I wouldn't get too hung up on it. Thank you.
Councillor Lucchini?
Yeah, just on the pantomime first, I'm sure this comes up at every community events meeting, but probably over 10 years ago now, the fireworks were set to a story. I think in some years that has been the pantomime. It was stopped because the fireworks would pause to allow the story to be read, but no one could hear the story being read. Anyone that was stood on Camps Road, they didn't stand a chance of actually being able to hear it. So you just end up with these weird gaps in between the fireworks. So it's decided to end that and instead just set it to music. But personally, I thought it went really well without the music. Like Gary said, it's actually quite nice just to hear the fireworks. The music was muffled from a distance anyway. There was plenty of positive comments on Facebook. I think I saw one that was complaining about no music, but they were shot down by many people, saying how wonderful the night was. So I think it's a complete success, and if we don't have music ever again, I don't see that as a problem.
Yeah, I got a couple of people say to me, "Oh, there's no music," but I think they were more surprised rather than complaining about it. But we know in years gone by that you've got the trees, you've got the toilet block, you've got the other buildings. If you are stood in Camps Road or anywhere like that, you would never hear anything.
I mean, I think that's a fair request to have music as people are walking up, and I think maybe we could add on something along the lines of pushing the events at the art centre, particularly the pantomime. So you could have a pre-recorded message that loops round as people are walking up, interjected with a little bit of Christmas ditties. I think, as Colin has mooted, it's not going to, the PA won't compete with the fireworks, so simply turn it off at that point. And then once the fireworks have gone off, just play the loop again as people walk away. So we can have the best of both worlds, and I think it's a learning curve, but we'll see how it goes and what people want for next year.
Well, I'll go back to my donations thing. You could put there, this is a town council pre-event, but somebody has to pay for it, sort of thing. How about giving a few coppers in the buckets that are going around?
I think with the donations is that with the cadets who take most of the buckets around, they're certainly on the side of the people away from them walking. So if we can have, I think it may be an idea that actually if we have enough, obviously we need enough people on site to deal with this, and may work better for donations if people are placed at strategic points down Camps Road, as that's where most people head back towards, the people with the buckets, rather than being the other side of the fence.
We've done that in the past, but you get the flashy light peddlers, or so-called street peddlers. They're not street peddlers, and they're illegal traders actually. But as the
so I think we need to consider the safety of young people with money.
In the past, we've had them along the line, and that's worked really well. I remember Betty, I think, and I can't remember. I think Betty walked along the line there, and she came back with hundreds of pounds. But that's something to think about for later in the year. Councillor Smith?
Yeah, I mean, if I'd been given a script, I would have been happy to sort of advertise anything that was going around, and I would have even sung a song if you wanted music.
Oh, really? Councillor Lucchini and Councillor Mason again. I don't want to hang on too long on this.
Gary, Colin, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm presuming by not having that sound system, there's actually a saving there as well, because instead we can use our own PA system.
Yeah, correct. We used our own PA system as opposed to a system that would have cost £1,800.
Yeah. So, and we're never going to get that back in donations or
I know.
take art centre as a result. So, to be honest, yeah, great saving. And just on the donations, one thing to possibly remember is I wonder how much loose change people do have in their pockets nowadays. Without having a card machine
We
going.
take wallets and credit cards. Yeah. I know, but I think there's more money coming. There's more cash coming around nowadays, especially with getting a new ATM machine in the high street. Councillor Mason. Okay.
Yeah, just really quickly on the topic of donations. Of course, with the market, we had a number of stalls who were doing fundraising, and we have the Santa Sleigh that was, of course, getting collections. And somebody once said to me at the Haverhill show, there's only so much money in people's pockets. And of course, by the end of the day, people might have been donated out, such as the nature of the market and Santa Sleigh and everything else. So, yeah, that was it.
Councillor Hanlon, then I'll move on.
Yeah, just quickly, sorry. Do we really need anybody collecting? Because there was, it's just been spoken by Gary that we need volunteers. Now, while they're collecting, they're not volunteering, are they? In other words, doing other things. Do we really need this? What I'd like to know how much we do collect over the years.
Virtually nothing now, but we used to collect hundreds of pounds.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And, it's right that people hardly carry cash now. It's all cards. Everything's cards. And I'm just thinking, is it a waste of time and waste of resources? Should we personally been using them to do other things than volunteers?
It's 20 minutes
volunteer, but
at the end of the day. I'm not talking about during the day. I'm talking about the fireworks.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, fireworks, because the fact it's a safety point as well, because it's absolutely, like this year, it was packed, or last year, it was really packed. It was lovely to see so many people moving down that road. And I'm just fearful of safety as well on that.
Yeah, no, we'd never compromise that. Colin.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Hanlon, for that. You do make a fair point, because when you actually work out the average, it doesn't amount to very much at all. But I think it's worth saying that at the point that we are having people with the collection buckets, they are no longer having to patrol the boundary for fireworks safety. So there's a fairly quick turnaround, and thanks to the cadets that get involved with that, they finish doing one job and they're immediately out with their buckets, trying their best. But I mean, you are right. I mean, particularly the Halloween trail, because we were using clickers, we knew how many people attended the Halloween trail, and the average donation was 3p.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, it did amount to a hill of beans, particularly the Halloween trail. But the couple of £100 that we might raise from the donation buckets at the Christmas event, etc. One household in Haverhill is putting like £150 in the bucket, if you like, for council tax. So it is an extra household at the very least that we're getting in. But I think we just have to be realistic, and I think Councillor Mason may well actually have put his finger on the button there. That there's actually that we have a high street and Queen Street full of charity stalls. The Santa Sleigh is raising money for amazing causes. There's loads of opportunities for people to spend money, whether at the stalls or at some of the entertainments that's going on, the fun fair, etc. And at the very end of the day, we stick a bucket out, and quite possibly, the tap is running dry at that point, to be perfectly honest, particularly as people are not necessarily coming out armed with loads of loose change. So we do what we can. If we had more people, then yes, it would be great to have more buckets out, but I think realistically we probably have pretty well rinsed the population of Haverhill we've been going by that time for about 9 or 10 hours, trying to separate people from their money for good causes and for their own causes. So perhaps if we raise money midway through the day, we'd do better.
Yeah, maybe. But I would always say that there's a lot of people come to the fireworks from outside Haverhill who don't contribute one iota, you know. And they're the people we've tried to quote tap into in the past. But we'll see anyway. See what happens. Right, shall we call a halt to that discussion on the thing? Let's move on to item agenda 8. Starting off with, are we going to have a beer festival this year? The camera lined up yet?
Camera have said they would like to do it again, and we have mooted the 20th and the 21st of June, which might be nice because it will be sunny, and so maybe might encourage more people to come out than a wet and windy April day.
Right. What's that? Saturday, Sunday?
Saturday, Friday and Saturday, I think.
Oh, Friday, Saturday.
Because the Sunday was a bit of a washout last year, so it wasn't really worth doing it.
Okay, yeah, sorry, yeah. I just thinking 21st because that's Suffolk Day. That's fine. So I just okay. Well, you got anything to say about camera? Sorry, beer festival. I don't drink beer, so I'm not going to. I don't drink at all, so I'm not going to make any comments on it. No. Let's talk about both the fund. Well, are we going to do is there going to be a Parkway Fun Day this year? Probably not.
I hope so.
Oh, you hope so? All right. The only thing I was going to say about fun days personally is, of course, we're excluding a lot of, and I know I've gone about toilets and all this sort of stuff, but we're going to exclude a lot of the other estates. But let's talk about Chalkstone and Clements. Sarah, I mean, Chalkstone presumably is going to be community.
I mean, they're pretty take them out of the box and press play, really, aren't they? They don't require an awful lot of thought and planning from us, particularly the Chalkstone one, because Jacqueline does such an amazing job. I don't know, Colin and Gary, if you want to talk about what we discussed earlier.
Well, I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right that these events very much out of the box. Gary had a thought about the location of the Clements event and whether or not the Chalkstone event has the running track, which we mark out, and we have some various games and people doing displays, etc. The Clements is Clements is an awkward one because the Clements, in principle, I quite like the fact that it's condensed around the car park and in front of the shops, because I always think that actually trying to keep everything quite close together is quite a good idea rather than spreading things too far apart. But the bouncy castles and some of the other activities, people don't want to be on the car park, particularly near the bottle bank with broken glass, etc. And therefore the bouncy castle tends to be the other side of the community centre. And there's logistical issues, but also a kind of continuity issue of splitting the activities between two different sides of the community centre. And it's surprising that the community centre actually becomes a bit of a block in the way, so marshalling the two events almost isn't easy. So there was a discussion today whether or not we looked at the next to the Clements School. You'll be aware you've got the Puddlebrook field, and between Puddlebrook and some of the houses, there are, before you start going too far down into the kind of Tudor estate area, there's where the park run starts. There's a green area there, which we wondered whether or not, if we could get power from the school, for sound, etc. Whether that would work as a parkland location for a fun day, and then we could mark out a running track, and we could do other kind of things that we couldn't do on the car park at the Leaston. I think we need to hear from councillors, particularly those who represent the area, to how they think that might work. But we wanted to chuck that in as a possibility.
Before I get on to the others, by strange coincidence, when I printed this off this afternoon, I actually wrote Puddle Book down there, because I did wonder about going out onto a grassed area of some sort, and also not just doing the same thing every year, year in, year after. Let's think about what else we could do instead, and make it easy. But let's hear from those who live there or represent there. Councillor Lucrini first, and Councillor Smith.
Yeah, no problem with it. But just one thing to note, and hopefully the time of year shouldn't cause a problem, but if there's a significant amount of rain beforehand, that whole area is like a marshland. So it would be cancelled.
Okay, good point. Councillor Smith. Dave?
Yeah, before you was mentioned, I was thinking possibly we've got the Jubilee Park, and I know we've had issues with that in the past, and I wonder if that would be a way of basically reclaiming it for the residents. But it's an awkward piece of land because it's quite a slope on it, so it might be appropriate. But there is also the piece of land, I think is Suffolk County Council land, behind where the doctors is, off of Walford Road. I don't know if that's another area that might be considered. They used to have goalposts up there and things. It's quite a nice size. I wonder if that again it's the issue about facilities, isn't it? Whether or not you can connect to any power. I don't know whether we use generators or whether we just plug into the community centre when we do it at the Clements. But yeah, there are alternatives. I mean, it is not being where it is at the moment. It's amongst the houses, which makes it nice for the people that live there. That is the benefit, but it does have its limitations, as you say, when it comes to sort of hard areas. It's not perfect for some of the things that are there. Anyway,
That's Mason, then Councillor Lucrini again.
Yeah, I'm commenting because it falls within my area of county. Funny enough, Councillor Smith beat me to it. That area behind Orford Road is a nice contained area. It's not too big, but also it's certainly comparable, if not bigger, than let's say the Chalkstone area that's been used. So I like the immediacy on the estate where the shops are. But actually, when you look at a map from above, most of the Clements isn't anywhere near the Leaston Centre. I wouldn't say if you put it at Orford, it would be that much further away for a lot of people. It would still serve the community well.
Councillor Lucrini. You're muted, Aaron.
So I presume we're talking about the field that's at the back of my garden. So if you want an extension lead running out, I might be able to power a few things.
I mean, it's not listed. Yeah. Right.
I think from a perspective as events organisers, the event where it is, we've been doing it now for at least 10 years since I've been here, and I think refreshing. The problems that we have with the car park is it's a constant battle to have cars removed. I don't know how many times we've had set up gazebos and activities around cars that are just placed there. There is an issue with it, is a bit of a filthy site. There's normally broken glass that we have to sweep up. There's all kinds of detritus around the site. And looking at the success the last few years of the Chalkstone Day, my suggestion was just to turn it into more of a green day where people could sit down and spend a couple of hours rather than just 20 minutes of just being on site and mooching around. As Colin's mooted as well, the key considerations logistically are power and possibly toilets, and also how people park. I mean, again, the considerations, I think Councillor Queenie just mentioned, obviously, the proximity is another factor of where we host it as well. So I think it would, from my perspective, it would be a good idea to mix it up, but obviously we're beholden to what everybody actually wants. So it's just a talking point for us to quickly get through and then see where we go with it.
If you could try it, and if it doesn't work, you know, do something else. Councillor Lucchini again. Lucchini.
Could we not actually use the school's car park? Would that not be a good solution? That you know it's going to be empty.
Yeah, I mean, there's always solutions, I'm sure, to every problem. I mean, I think the more minds on this, the better. So again, I think the question would be, first off, how far would the school like to be involved? And I think a conversation might be a good idea as a starting point.
Yeah. Obviously, they might come back and say it's a no-go, but I'm just thinking they do hire out the school for the external users. So whether that they would do something for us, you've got quite a big car park there and some green space next to it that's all enclosed.
Yeah. Thought. Okay. So I don't think there's, from what I'm hearing, there's no adverse reaction to no way we're going to stay at the Clements Community Centre forevermore. Okay, anything else on those fun days? Parkway, you think might go ahead somewhere, but next to Felix?
Yeah,
Okay.
the thought was to do it on the car park chair.
Yeah.
That's the discussion we had with Father John. We just need to make sure that that's kind of in the psyche there. But obviously, Councillor Smith may have better connections.
Okay. Councillor David Smith.
Yeah, well, I've actually got a church meeting tomorrow night, so I'll raise it then. But when I spoke to him before, I think his issue was the fact that he felt like he needed to be there. Whether he does or not, I don't know. Anyway, as I say, I'll raise that tomorrow.
Okay, lovely. Thanks, Sendo. Appreciate that. Right. Obviously, a lot of all this is subject to budgets anyway, but budget approval rather. Haverhill in the Park. I noticed the dates here. It says Friday the 15th to Sunday the 18th. I assume that's a mistype. Should be.
No, Chair, the councillors haven't chosen yet whether they want the event to be 2 days or 3 days.
No, I appreciate that. Is that why you put it like that? Yeah, okay. All right. I thought 2 days worked very well, but anyway, that's personal. Any comments on Haverhill in the Park at all? Probably better.
Can we go back to 3 days? No, sorry.
Not if we're having you singing now. We know it clashes with VJ Day from the civic point of view, but we've got I think we've got a workaround on that one now from the meeting we had last week. So anything else on Haverhill in the Park at this moment in time? Any thing that people want to see changed or not? Oh, sorry, Councillor Lucchini. Sorry, change your name.
I was just going to ask. I presume we've already started with securing bookings for the event.
I believe we have.
Steve Marsh was given permission to pencil in some dates, but he's well aware of the fact that until the budget is agreed at the end of this month, it's only pencil.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, I'm just worried that otherwise we kind of miss the boat and things get booked up.
Yeah. So my expectation is, and I think I'm right in thinking that he has penciled in a fairly good name. So it's really just whether at this point whether councillors had any kind of observations. I mean, I've heard one observation to keep it to 2 days, etc., and one to keep it to 3. Obviously, the budget currently is assuming it's a 2-day event. So it's whether or not any councillors have any thoughts about that before it goes to full council.
Councillor Joe Mason.
Just really clearly, I'm quite strongly of opinion it should be a 2-day event. I think it was more compact. I think it worked well. There were fewer slack periods. I thought the program. I just think the whole event worked better as a 2-day, and I don't think it needs to be a 3-day event.
Yeah, I probably of the same view, but then having said that, having worked the whole week on it, it was nice to finish it after day 7. Any thoughts, Sarah? Are you thinking?
No, I'm neutral on this one.
Okay. All right. And where's Gary gone? There he is. Any thought, Gary?
I think there's pros and cons. I'm sure that there's an argument that if we're building the infrastructure, the cost for another day is relatively small in comparison to what we spent just to set it up. I'm also cognizant of it did feel really nice last year in terms of its compactness, as Councillor Mason mentioned. Maybe it did drag on a little bit over 3 days. I think there's maybe an argument to suggest that we could do a Saturday and a Sunday as full days, or at least Sunday last audience out at about 7, and drop the Friday. But I think that's probably not going to be for this year because we've had penciled in artists. My own perspective would be, I think we were mooting today, would be to go to a Saturday and Sunday rather than the Friday night and have fuller days, and also to also include more family activities and make it more of a kind of a place where people can just let their kids go and do their thing, etc., rather than it being just music based. But of course, the focus is always on the music. But yeah, I think it's a curious one. I think this year, I think we're probably with the artists. If we went to a Saturday and Sunday, we're probably going to lose the Friday booking because I doubt that they'll be able to move it across at short notice. But again, it's just an idea.
Yeah, following on to the others. One thing we keep talking about 2 days, but it's not really 2 days because Friday night,
but we've basically got a full Saturday and only 4 hours of music on the Friday.
Correct.
So realistically, it's only a day and a half. I think if you went to a Saturday and a Sunday, you could open the gates earlier on the Sunday and have music starting from roughly 12 o'clock, but have people on site from 11 and go through to 7. So you could have an 8-hour day plus a 10-hour day on the Saturday. So I think if you're going to set up as a 2-day, you'll get more value bang for your buck if you went to a Saturday and Sunday than doing a Friday and a Saturday.
Well, I was going to say the argument actually is to start earlier. If you do Friday, Saturday, you could start earlier on the Friday and certainly start earlier on the Saturday. We don't start till 12. You know, a lot of music festivals start 10, 10:30, something like that.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think we could, if we have the activities, if we have a little fairground or whatever that possibly might be, a little theatre show, etc. The only consideration we'd have to think about is the site itself and how it's utilised if we're setting up all those activities. It's just a logistical.
Yeah, but that's something else. Let's Councillor Smith, then Councillor Lucrini.
First of all, sorry, that wasn't a serious proposal to go to 3 days. It's just me being a little bit facetious. I understand the limitations to doing that. I don't think we can really start any earlier on a Friday. For one thing, people do work, and I don't think they get there in time. So if it were to move to Saturday and Sunday, then that'll give you more time. But yeah. No, I don't have anything to add, but sorry.
I was thinking more of youngsters, young thing, people for youngsters on a Friday night or Friday afternoon rather, but not too, not. But I anyway, Councillor Lucchini, then Councillor Brown.
Yeah, I'd love to get back to 3 days, but I think the numbers would need to improve again to have that kind of that case there for it. Personally, Friday and Saturday I think works best. I think we saw with the Sunday that people just don't come out. People are thinking about going back to work. They're not quite as interested in coming out, especially until late. The numbers on the Sunday were so poor when we did it. Friday and Saturday were really popular last year. I thought it was a great weekend.
Councillor Brown?
Yeah, I would say a Saturday and a Sunday. I know Aaron's saying that Sunday wasn't too well attended, but I think a lot of people had come out, possibly Friday before. It seems a lot better to have a 2-day Saturday Sunday event, and like someone else said, a lot of people work. Time you get home from work and get ready and one thing and another, it's quite late into Friday evening. Whereas if you've got the Saturday and the Sunday, you've got more chance to prepare, get down and enjoy the weekend. And I think, to be fair as well, it's all around what acts you have on. If you've got, a really good act on a Sunday afternoon, you'll have the people there without any trouble, or without any doubt. Yeah,
you're probably right. Something to look into, though. If it goes ahead this year, we may not be able to change very much, but we'll see. Right, anything else on Haverhill in the Park? Anybody else got any comments? No. I don't think there's any point in talking about the trail or the Christmas events, seeing as we've just done them to death, I would have said. Colin, what do you reckon?
Yeah, Chair, actually there is. So the Halloween trail, the natural kind of progression of the dates for a Friday brings us into conjunction or conflict, depending on your point of view, with Halloween itself.
Mhm.
So what can we expect people to be doing on Halloween itself, which is families going out trick-or-treating, which we know, particularly in Haverhill and generally in England, it would seem, is becoming bigger and bigger as a thing. So we are likely to bump into the question for families is, do we go trick-or-treating, or do we go down to the East Town Park for 5:30 for the youngsters trail? So I think the officer recommendation, given it's half term, is that this year we avoid a clash with Halloween itself and hold the event on the 30th of October. That's because we already have an event on the 1st of November on the Saturday at the Arts Centre, which would split our tech team and the number of ushers, etc. So that would mean that families could dress up on the Thursday, come along to the Halloween trail as normal, and then on the Friday, on the actual Halloween itself, go out trick-or-treating and whatever they want to do. There's no either conflict or whatever it might be as far as that's concerned. I don't know what councillors think about that.
I think a lot of people won't bother turning up on the Thursday, to be honest with you, because it is half term. I appreciate it, but I don't know. I mean, I'm not a great fan of trick or treating either. So Councillor Lucrini, what do you think? Being the younger generation,
Not sure that's very true anymore, but I'm tempted to say we should almost try it on the 31st, just see how it goes. There might be the plus for us that actually slightly less people do turn up, which would probably do us a favour. Whereas if we do it on the Thursday, do we just end up with the same numbers again, which causes some problems?
Councillor Mason, Joe.
Yeah, Aaron's stolen my thunder a little bit. Absolutely, I think you should go for it. I think changing things around, seeing what's worked. If it doesn't work, then do it differently the following year. I certainly know of a number of families that wanted to do trick-or-treating and do the Halloween trail, and set up their house, but they had to do the Halloween trail, so they couldn't be at their house to do the trick-or-treating. So I think separating it from those days allows people to take part in the festival of Halloween and do everything. If they want to do the Halloween trail and do the trick-or-treating with their children, it facilitates that bit of Halloween fun that a lot of people enjoy. I'd say give it a go.
All right, Councillor David Smith and Councillor Brown.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if Councillor Mason was saying go for the Thursday or the Friday there, but anyway, Colin, did you say there was an event on the Saturday, and if it was on the Friday, that would make it too onerous for the town council staff? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we have a Neil Diamond tribute act at the Arts Centre on the Saturday, so we wouldn't really want to try and shift the Halloween trail, which is an all hands on deck event, to the Saturday. So we can't go that way. So we can either have it on the Friday and see what happens, or have it on the Thursday and see what happens. Thursday, the Arts Centre's dark anyway. Friday, it's simply down to be the thank you for Councillor Mason for clarifying that. So Thursday would mean that people could do both, but obviously, you know, we're not dictating. If people think they can work out a way where they can be trick-or-treating and go to the event at the same time, I don't know. We don't know the answer to the question, so whatever we decide, it will be a guess.
Yeah, I thought Councillor Green was saying go for the Friday. I'm not a lover of trick or treating. Anything is anytime we can stop people from doing that's great by my as far as I'm concerned. But there we go.
Councillor Brown, Tony.
Yeah, all it was to go back to the point that was raised about the parking. I live opposite East Town Park, and to be fair, all my neighbours and everyone I know on the estate, we don't mind. It's 2 or 3 times a year you get people park outside your house, and and most people I speak to are more than happy to see people go there and enjoy themselves. So it isn't a real issue. You're always going to get 1 or 2 people that complain, but I say for the vast majority of the people that live where I live, and that's directly opposite the park, we're more than happy, to sort of shove up with our cars now and again, and have a little bit of inconvenience. It's for the better, for the better good for the town. So I won't worry too much about that.
Councillor Hanlon.
Yeah, thank you, Tony, for that, because it is a big inconvenience to the people that live up in that area. Anyway, getting back to the Thursday, and we're not here as councillors. We're here for the public, and that includes the younger generation as well. So we should think of them more than we think of ourselves, really. So we should go for the Thursday, and let them enjoy themselves. I don't like trick or treating at all. We're not here for me or for our generation. We're on that particular night. We're here for the younger generation. So let's go for the Thursday. It might not work, but we tried it. At least we tried it. Thank you.
All right. Personally, I'm against it, but
Chair, if it doesn't work, then it'll release the pressure on the trail, as Councillor Lucreen describes anyway. If we do it on a Thursday and people aren't so keen to do it a day early. So I don't know. I mean, do you want to make a recommendation, or how do you want to work this?
Sorry, let me go back to Councillor Lucrini first before we make that.
I was going to say, I think if you do it on the Thursday, I think we'll have the same numbers we have every year. People will be happy to move over. I think if you do it on the Friday, I think that's the day where you'd get less people and reduce the pressure on the trail, because people will be going to do trick or treating or going to Halloween parties. So yeah, if we want to make sure we have the maximum number of people attending again, then probably the Thursday. But if we want to try and reduce the numbers down slightly and allow people to enjoy the trail fully, I'd say go for the Friday.
Yeah, I mean, the number of complaints I heard last year for Halloween trail when I was there was primarily the queuing time. So reducing numbers down may help. Councillor Hanlon again.
Yeah, I'd like to propose that we move it for this year as a trial to Thursday, to the day before.
Okay, have I got a seconder for that at all? No, by the looks of things. So
I'm going to point out that you've only got 3 people on your committee actually present.
one, two, three. There's 4 of us here. So you've gone muted again, Colin.
Yeah, you have got 4. Sorry, I forgot.
Yeah,
Councillor
sorry, yeah.
O'Brien's
Yeah, sorry, I did think I was, yeah, that's why I was a bit wide earlier. Sorry, Councillor Lucrini.
Presumably, I'm actually on the committee because now I'm kind of questioning myself. But
You are.
in that case, I presume that I can put another proposal forward now. Is that
Yes,
fair?
please.
Yeah. So in that case, I'm going to propose that we keep it on the Friday.
Okay. All right. So propose any seconder for that? Councillor Brown.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got a proposal then. All those in favour, please show. Can't be blurred. No. Yeah, so there's some.
carried. Yeah, there's 3.
I mean, how often does it happen that it coincides as well? Work that one out.
Once every 11 years, I think, would be.
It was 11 years since the
Okay,
last one.
sorry, without me sitting down and working it out, I was going to say. Councillor Brown, sorry, you're going to say something?
Yeah, I'll say it'd be a good experiment to see how it affects it, by having it on the Friday, if it does affect the footfall, quite considerably, it might be worthwhile going back to, like Pat said, mirror, Halloween evening, if that's, what we want to try and achieve. Yeah.
Okay, lovely.
There's a similar question for the Christmas thing, just in terms of the Christmas event holding on the 29th of November. There is a booking of a dance school. I've looked at Gary and Sarah to whether I'm using the right expression.
It is correct.
So what we're looking at is there's a clash at the moment that we need to clear up. And the officer recommendation is that we keep with the 29th and ask the dance school we tell the dance school they need to move their date. But what we want to do is set the 2026 date for the Christmas event so that the arts centre isn't booked. We have an extremely efficient creative director. We're really having to scamper to keep up because we announce our dates in the kind of October, November of 24 for year 25 and discover that they're already booked right through. So we want to book 2026 date, and I think Sarah can confirm the date we're proposing for 2026, and then we can let the dance school know that as well. Now, what we're trying to do is make sure that we fix our dates so that whilst every now and again you have to flick back in order to keep on a Saturday closest to around the end of November, beginning of December, we don't want to float too far into November, and we don't want to then flick back to too late into December, because of course what we pay for the Christmas lights is the same regardless of whether we have the lights for 6 weeks or 5 weeks. And if we flick too soon to say like the 5th or 6th of December, then we've actually lost a week of Christmas lights, which has no cost attached to it. We can simply switch the lights on a week early. So we're trying to keep it round the end of November.
Yeah, so 2026 is Saturday the 28th of November.
Yeah. So, Chair, we're suggesting that for this year it's the 29th of November and next year the 28th of November. And then we advise people who want to book the arts centre around that these dates are actually belong to the community. and we're not going to compromise a community event with bookings in the Arts Centre.
I think our creative director is not going to get any more cups of coffee off me. I did say to him when he turned up, whenever it was in May, not to do that. One thing I would certainly look at, and it's worthwhile thinking about, is a lot of other towns do even earlier. They do like mid-November for their thing. So whether you wanted to keep it towards the end of November rather than thinking about mid-November is another matter. You know, again, it's cost, isn't it? Councillor Lucarini.
Yeah, essentially we're saying it's always going to be the closest weekend to the 1st of December, and to me that makes sense. So I'm going to propose that we accept the officer recommendation.
Okay. Are we going to have a seconder on that then? Anybody? I don't mind one way or other. Councillor Brown. I was only going to suggest looking at, maybe even a week earlier, just to think about it, look at other towns, see what they do. I know we don't have much of a high street now and it's going downhill rapidly. But... Okay, can we have a vote then, please, on towards as close to the end of November as possible? All those in favour, please show. Can't see again, there we are.
Yeah, there's carried 3 votes.
Yeah, I can just... Okay. So is there anything else on, other than those date issues, anything else on those 3 events we don't need to discuss any further? I think we've hacked them to death on the first one. Okay, item 9, any other business from anybody? Sorry, Joe, you've been very quiet there. I know, you've been sat there diligently. Right, date of next meeting is 14th of April. That'll soon come round, I can tell you now. And finally, item 11, closure of 2023. Thank you all.